my first swim lesson in a teeny weeny bikini. I have some whale watching to do as I started my very first swim lesson with Makoto. Obviously that next day we'll go on our first date. More on that later because that was pretty wild. I still need to figure out what picture to take for my photography class. This time it turns out to be a water feature. Speaking of that, there probably is one in front of the restaurant we're about to go. Lately my mind has been in a bit of a trance. I had this insane dream where I fell into the pool. The murky water arms were pulling me into the bottom of the ground, and I had no one to save me. A vicious fish with dagger fangs approached me, and I kept hearing my father's voice. My dad's been gone for a very long time. He passed away when I was in a typhoon when I was only 5 years old. I was so little, yet I remember the kind of person it was. It's so awful for anyone to lose anyone that young in a storm. I really want to get in the water, but somehow I feel afraid. He taught me a bit of swimming, but it was so long ago. And he told me the story of the legend of Momotaro, who was a brave warrior born from a peach, who left his home to fight the Oni invading his land. I felt like I had my own battle and I needed to be just as brave as that character. If he can beat a whole army of Oni, then I can beat these losers in swimming. I need to stay strong. My father is still watching over me, I know, in heaven. And if only I could speak to his grave one more time, I will still pray to God and hope that my dad will also listen. I got so many pictures of my dad and my mom, even the picture when my dad was just such a young boy. My brother felt like he didn't need them anymore, as he went back to Australia a year ago. I know I'm not going to be a professional like Haru or even my brother. Yeah, I haven't still heard from Haru yet. He's probably distracted by the water. Figures. I'm still not sure what my dream is yet. I'm sorry I got a little emotional. Maybe now it's time to grab a swimsuit. And I do have one with me, but it's not exactly a tracksuit. It's a yellow, teeny-weeny polka dot bikini that my mom got for me one time we went to the beach, and I haven't worn since, but it will do for now. It's a little embarrassing because I know Makoto hasn't seen me that way yet. So I put a top over my swimsuit, and Chigusa saw that I had the swimsuit on. And even I felt like it was a little too much. But she also wished me luck on the lesson. And then she admitted, then I finally admitted, Hana-chan, I'm sorry I didn't tell you this, but Makoto and I are actually dating. And she was pretty excited for us. She said we were lucky. And he figured that that Makoto liked at least one of us because of the Squid Festival. After that comment, I started to remember that moment at the Squid Festival where he did seat us in our yukatas. He did call us cute, but I wasn't sure which one of us. But I now know he really meant me. I do feel sorry for Hana-chan. She doesn't really have any plans. Will you be okay when I leave? I asked her. And she said she'll just keep doing housekeeping while I was gone. I'm not sure how things are going to work out for me and Makoto, but regardless, I will always be there for Hana-chan. She and I would have not been best friends if I didn't stand up for her, and I'm the closest thing she has to a sister, as her mother isn't very kind and she overworks her at the Ikebana shop. Both of us were picked on in middle school. I stood up to those bullies. It's a long story how I got there. Anyways, on to the lesson. Just after my class, I had to head back to the pool. I had to head to the pool that Makoto was expecting me in. I walked down the stairs and bumped into a small group of people, and the people looked at me with a aghast face as I moved past despite my odd running. I admit that it was kind of funny. My phone started to vibrate. He just texted me. Makoto's text said, "Hi Go-chan, my work shift ended early. Please come by the pool and we will discuss further." And I thanked him. After he gave me the address, luckily the community center was within walking distance, so there was no need to drive, as I still can't do that yet. I felt like I stood out against the crowd with my large sun hat and bright pink ribbon in the middle. I strolled down across the street while holding onto my beach bag and finally made it to the place. I peeked into the windows. They were pretty empty, and I opened the door and I heard splashing coming from the pool. "Makoto, are you here?" Then he came closer to me, and he was in that exact swimsuit that he wore in his last year of high school, back when I used to manage. He already took off that work uniform shirt, so I saw his shirtless chest, and my eyes almost sparkled. It's like he looked stronger in his muscles, possibly more grown up. I couldn't get enough of it, but normally I would freak out about his muscles, but this time I needed to focus. "I'm so glad you can make it. You brought your..." He said he was so glad I could make it. And he said, do you have your swimsuit on?" He asked. I know it's back home. Well, I did have my swimsuit under my sundress, so I might as well take it off. And I said, "Ta-da!" I said, I could tell by the look of his eyes he couldn't help but stare at me. He blushed so much. He turned bright red. It was a little embarrassing. "I'm sorry, Makoto. This is the only one I had," as he shyly stared. "Are you ready?" He asked if I was ready for the lesson, and I replied with a sure. He held out his rather large hands towards me and grabbed me. I swear he even did something similar to this to his own best friend Haru. Almost every time he couldn't leave the pool, but this time he actually held my hand and helped me walk down the steps of the pool. It was very sweet of that gentle giant to do it for me. As I started to see the water starts, I felt a little triggered because of what happened in the past. Makoto almost sensed my concerned look. He wanted to wonder what was wrong. I know it wasn't easy for me to get in the water for the first time. I almost tried to get out, but Makoto told me not to leave. I still don't know if I could trust the water. I mean, I should be able to conquer it, but I still feel afraid. But Makoto said there was no need to fear, just because of what happened in the storm years ago. Looking down at the water isn't the thing you need to do. Those words reminded me of something. I once overheard him saying to his friend about his fear that his fear about water before he learned to swim. I wonder if it was something deeper. It feels like he might have lost someone else in that storm too. Is it possible? And he told me to just keep holding on. He said, while smiling at me warmly. He started to let go. As soon as he did, I was able to float in the shallow water, and I could not believe it. Should I try to float on my chest? So I grabbed a kickboard and saw the edge of the stairs of the pool. Makoto gave me encouragement, so I started going around the lanes, trying to kick and try to bend my knee. It started to hurt so much I felt unbalanced. Maybe floating in my front wasn't the best idea for me. But I could see he was trying to say I needed to get on my back and maybe try to do his signature stroke, the backstroke, which he does for days. So I tried to lie down in my back, and I laid down against the chlorine water. It wasn't easy to float, but I was doing it. I could see the sky and the clouds. It was almost like I could see heaven, and I could almost hear my father's voice again, encourage me. I was enamored by this moment. It was so beautiful. Makoto was so right. So right that I could swim. It was like in my veins all along. He told me I could try to kick and move my arms as they were almost like a paddle. It wasn't easy, but I did it. And he was proud, and I was proud too. I can do the backstroke. And I thanked him so much. And I hugged him. It felt a little awkward because I had a bikini. But let's just say we're going to keep practicing for the next couple of weeks. As soon as I perfect my stroke, I could get faster and stronger. I just need to know who my teammates are going to be. In this moment in my life, this is probably one of the proudest I've ever been. Learning the ropes led to the beginning of my new life as a team captain.